What an awesome and explosive chapter. By far my favorite one thus far into the series. So let me know what you think, but man. Gourmet number 45, Aqua Regia. Oh shit, that has got to be the coolest explanation of a fight and a chapter. And let me just... Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the excellent and masterfully woven tale of Toriko. Our last chapter, of course, saw us with things really ending up with, the new volume had started, and the chapter went by very quickly, but it kind of ended with Coco going just all crazy style and just all of a sudden going poison hell and unleashing what looked like just this poison gas something from his body all around in the area. So that's how things left off, and that's right where this one picks up, and it's actually very cool because where it does pick up is very, very neat. It picks up right there, and he's doing the poison hell and everything, and the GT robot is all smug and everything, and he's like, oh, okay, what is this? Is this some kind of volcanic gas, you know? And it's messing with his sensors a little bit, and his olfactory sensors and all this other stuff, but really it's nothing too bad, nothing too bad to write home about. So he goes, and then he's, kind of makes fun of Coco, and says, yeah, whatever, it's not really messing me up. And then Coco goes and explains about, it really explains what happened is that his body, he actually created for the poison hell, he was able to kind of mix up and create like a hydrogen sulfide, like gas, and be able to push it out. So, and those of you who don't know about the hydrogen sulfide gas, my narrator friend said that he would gladly explain it to you. So if he's, if you're ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, right, you mean me. Hydrogen sulfide. An element found in volcanoes and natural hot springs. Just the presence of 0.1% in a solution can kill an adult human. At a high enough concentration, hydrogen sulfide is capable of corroding metal.
Oh, okay. You're done then. Good. So anyway, so from then on, so then the GT robot goes and again, he's still got him kind of smashed down underneath him, and he's like underneath his foot, and he's just like, listen, he goes, GT robot said that, like, if I was a human, if I wasn't a robot, I'd be dead right now. So, good on you there, Coco, but GT robots are made to withstand, made to go places where humans can't go, so like inside of a volcano or deep underwater or whatever, It's like, so your stuff can't, isn't gonna, penetrate my highly durable titanium alloy shell and this and that. And then Coco's like, oh, really? And he's laying there pinned down by this robot, and he's like, well, what if I could produce an even more deadly poison, And he's just like, oh, whatever, man, you're bluffing. And, enough is enough with your crap, And then he's like, and then he goes, my sensors can smell that there's all this gas in the air and, in the surrounding area. So I bet you what you want me to do is you want to piss me off so I can go and shoot, can fire my weapons and ignite this gas, right? And Coco doesn't say anything, and he's like, you know what? That's fine. I'll go and indulge in your nonsense over here, and I'll show you, So he goes, and then boom, double page spread, just a huge explosion. And right before he does it, you see Coco go, poison shield, And obviously he's got to shield himself from the blast. So this whole explosion happens, and and then he's on the GT robot's still standing there afterwards, and Coco looks a little worse for wear. Doesn't look too good, but he's still alive, And he's just like, oh man, I'm surprised you're even still alive from that. He's like, but look at me, I'm invincible. Nothing can get to the GT robot, Did you think something as stupid as that gas would be able to go and penetrate and get into my core and this and that, So it's actually pretty cool because then he goes and he's just like, you know what? That's enough is enough. I'm gonna finish you off. And Coco's like thinking to himself, and he's just like, oh man, I hope I got enough in there and this and that, and then it takes effect, and you're thinking, what the hell's the deal with this guy? Okay, all right, he's got some kind of master plan, right? So they go and they show this cool side view of the GT robot standing over, with his foot clamped down on Coco, and he's just getting ready with his little, anteater face to open up and fire his big beam, and he's just, and you're thinking, oh man, Coco's fucked, right? And then all of a sudden it shows, and the beam fired next to Coco, and he's like, what, I missed at point blank range? What the hell, So then Coco's like, allow me to explain. And he goes and he starts talking about what he did and how he did it, and it's great because he goes and he says, he says, when I was, firing all those, poison shots at you and stuff, I wasn't doing it because I thought I was going to damage you. I was trying to actually, I was basically kind of feeling around and trying to find where, where your core antenna was, and that's what transmits and receives the, I guess, the signals, so these GT robots can function. And it's kind of like that's obviously like their processor, that's their CPU, that's what keeps them upright and going. And he's like, so that's actually what I was trying to target to find out exactly where it was, And then he's like, so then the GT robot's like, well, what about the volcanic gas, the hydrogen sulfide, And he's like, we're actually in the impact crater right now that was created by the Regal Mammoth, and hydrogen sulfide is a heavier gas, so it all sunk down to here, plus all the debris and everything else. And he's basically letting him know, like, I had that all happen, so it would pretty much just obstruct your view, is what it was, And he's just like, what are you talking about, And then it's kind of cool because it goes into this whole explanation about, what happens or everything. And, better just to let the man take it away. So if you're ready, just by all means, just go ahead.
Allow me to explain. When he produced the hydrogen sulfide in his body, he created 2 other poisons at the same time. One was a concentrated hydrochloric acid he constructed out of stomach acid. The other was a concentrated nitric acid he made from oxidizing his body's ammonia. He always planned for the hydrogen sulfide to ignite, but not so it could cause damage to the GT robot. Instead, he wanted to use it as cover while he fired the 2 other poisons, while he protected his body with a poison shield. The heat of the explosion vaporized the concentrated hydrochloric acid and nitric acid, allowing them to penetrate the GT robot's body and reach its core. He has no idea that I'm done right now. Let's not tell him, and then let's see if the idiot even catches it during the editing process. He won't. Back to you.
Oh. My turn? Okay. Well, actually, and that was a wonderful explanation, and I do appreciate that. But I love this here because then he's just like, the GT robot's like, my core doesn't have the same durability as the rest of my body, but its surface is coated with a highly conductive metal, And he's like, oh, is that so? Because you look awfully unsteady, And he's like, same goes for you. Now, I love this, though. Coco goes, both acids transition from gas back to liquid and mixed inside your core. The ratio of hydrochloric acid to nitric acid being 3:1. Right about now, that liquid compound is eating away at your innards, so to speak. So what happened is he went and sprayed this shit, and then during the explosion and the intense heat that came from that, it turned into gas, so it could pass through and actually get into that core. And then it went and it turned back into liquid, and now it's a chemical reaction, and it mixes. It's called Aqua Regia, and it's the most corrosive liquid known to man. And I love that shit. He's just like, and I can only produce a little bit of it, but that's all it really takes to go and throw off your sensors. If you have no sense of balance and whatnot, you can't control your robot. So he's just like, GT robot goes, he falls down. It's just so great because he's like, you smug little shit or whatever he says, and Coco's just like, and then he starts up and he's like, yeah, tell your bosses that Coco of the 4 Kings, and then you flip the page and Coco's just like, just passes out, right? Just falls on the ground. You're like, what the fuck, Coco boy, come back. Anyway, and he's laying there and he's just like, oh God, he's like, he basically burned himself out, used too much poison, and he's like, need to drink and eat, Reminds you of Toriko. But he's like, oh my God, but they need my help and this and that. And then as he's kind of fading, right, he looks off in the distance, and who does he see but the GT robot that came out of the Devil Athletic that Terry had tried to slow down, controlled by the vice chef of Gourmet Corp, Starjun, and he's walking towards, and it's kind of like as Coco's like nodding in and out, you just see him like getting closer and closer, and that's how the chapter ends. So what an explosive freaking chapter. What an awesome, awesome way to go. Out of anything that I have read thus far, regardless of manga, comic books, novels, and I've read a ton of stuff, hundreds of thousands of pages worth of things, that has to be one of the coolest, neatest, most intricate, but actually makes sense type of explanations for a battle and how it actually was won. So that will go into my chapter question. My chapter question for you folks is, brothers and sisters, is really, what did you think about the explanation of how Coco actually managed to defeat this GT robot? I mean, I thought it was ingenious. But I thought it was genius. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, or even the narrator. He's a nice fella. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation. Even Walter White has respect for Coco and the way he took down the GT robot.